Hey guys, it's Michael from FireAndBrilliance, and today we'll be talking about setting types. There's so many different varieties in the industry right now, from micro Pavé to channel set to bezel set. So I'm going to go over the main ones for you, so you kind of really have an idea as to what you can do in terms of designs and setting types, which basically means what are you setting your stones and how are you setting your stones on the shank, on the jewelry piece, on your ring. So the cool thing about what I'm going to show you today is that it's going to be on CAD, which is a software that we use, or one of the softwares that we use to design our rings, okay? Hey guys, so the first specific setting that I kind of want to go over with you in terms of setting type is called the bezel setting. And all a bezel setting basically means is that it's using all the metal that you can to basically wrap around the gemstone, okay? So if you take a look here, all of these little accent diamonds on this specific image here is a bezel set because of the fact that there's metal that goes all the way around it. It does not have to just be a round shaped stone. It could be a princess cut, it can be a cushion cut, it can be an oval, what have you. The idea of a bezel setting is that the metal is wrapped around the entire gemstone. So there are a few reasons as to why people do like bezel sets. The top two would be primarily security. It will really, protect the stone all the way around. The only portion of the stone that it cannot protect is the top portion of the stone, right? So that's the pro. Another pro is the fact that a lot of people do like the way it looks, the way it feels, and those type of things. And this is only one specific example of what a bezel setting can look like. There's also a half bezel where parts of the bezel is kind of shaved off so that it will show parts of the stone, but this is the main example of what a bezel setting will look like. There are other ways to design as well. It doesn't have to be this round. It can be a little more squarish. It can be not as smooth around the edges. It could be a little rougher around the edges and those type of things. So it really just depends as to what you like. But this is the prime example of what a bezel set center stone or stone will look like. The con of a bezel set is the fact that because metal will surround itself around the stone, there will be less light that will go into it, and therefore the reflection of the stone or the sparkle, the fire, the brilliance, and those type of things will be limited due to the limitations of what the center stone can expose within the metal. All right. Alright guys, so this is an example of a channel set. The difference between this example and the previous example is that the gemstones here are not round cuts, but instead they are princess cuts or square cuts, okay? What a channel set is in terms of a setting type is it's very similar to a bezel set where it's protected all the way around, but instead it will have walls. So if you take a look here, all of the gemstones are lined up. Okay, and depending on the shank type, it can be lined up differently around the aesthetics of the specific shank. But for this specific example, it's a very basic type of channel set, very standard. Now the pros of a channel set is very similar to that of a bezel set, is that it's very well protected. If bezel set is number one in terms of security, the security of a stone, then a channel set is definitely very high up there at a number two. Okay, not too far off from a bezel set, only because it's very well protected within the security of the metal. The only difference here is that they're lined up together as a group. Now, unless it encounters brute force or anything like that, it should be protected within the structure of the setting. All right. The cons are very similar to that of a bezel set, is that it is surrounded by metal, and therefore it should limit the reflection of light when a gemstone refracts that light from whatever lighting source is coming from, okay, because of the amount of metal that's surrounding it. So this specific setting here is considered a bead set, All right, and what I mean by the beads is are these little dots here that you see in between the gemstones or the accent gems on the shank. Okay, some people will call it prongs, some people call it beads. These types of words in the jewelry industry are used interchangeably. These beads are holding all of these accent stones in between the shank. Okay, and if you notice here, these beads are also shared. All right, so in other words, there are two beads here. Some people will prefer one bead to hold the stones together, but there are two beads here, and both beads are holding two stones together. So for example, these two here are holding the top stone as well as the bottom. And then if I was to move it down, it's the same all the way around. And I'm going to use the same example as to show you what a micro Pavé setting is, okay? I cannot pull up an example at the moment for micro Pavé setting, but if you are to try to visualize what it will look like to take these beads completely away and only take a look at the metal in between, okay? So there's metal right there. And then there's also metal on this side, right? Right there, okay? And if you were to take away the beads, and imagine if we were to set that stone, okay, down a bit in between the metal, that's considered a pavé, micro pavé type of setting. Whereas you are no longer using beads to set the stone, but you are using the metal that is somewhat dissected and cut. If you take a look at the crevice right here, right, those are the sections that jewelers will use to set the stone for micro pavé types of settings to make it look as if these stones are floating, right? So that's so the bead set and the micro pavé setting. The pros of bead sets and micro pavé sets is that, well, number one, it definitely makes it seem as if the diamonds are floating. There's a reduction of metal, right? If you were to kind of just really make it small as to what it'll look like in terms of fitting into your finger, this is more or less what it'll look like, right? So you'll notice the stones more than the actual metal, and it really looks like it's floating. So the light, the reflection, the refractive, or the light that's refracting from the stone will show much more with that reduction of metal, as it can pass through in and out of the stone on all sides, okay? But the con compared to that of a bezel set or a channel set is that the security of these stones are not as well, basically it's not as secure, in other words, right? So if you have a heavy hand, if you move your hands a lot, if you work with your hands, such as in construction, or if you're a nurse or something like that, then a bezel set or a channel set may be more beneficial in terms of security. It does not necessarily mean that these bead sets and micro pavé settings are not secured. It just basically means that if it's definitely less secured than that of a bezel set or a channel set. So again, if you work with your hands a lot, then you may put it more at risk of losing these accent stones. Okay, and it does happen from time to time industry-wide. So here's the last image that I want to showcase to you guys, and basically this is going to be a marriage between the bezel set and a bead set that where the beads are shared. Okay, so it's a mixture of the example 1 and 3. So basically the top center stone is a bezel set. So if you notice there, metal wraps around the entire stone. And here's just another example of what a bezel set can look like. It does not have to go all the way down and cover all the entire stone, right? It's basically just protecting the girdle or the circumference of the stone and really hold it into place. Whereas the accent stones are basically held by beads. And if you notice, the shank is also scalloped, where you see these U-shaped type of shapes. And what that will do is that will allow more light to shine into the stone and expose it some more, so that the the refraction of light and the reflection of light will basically provide more of a sparkle. Hey guys, so if you like what you saw there, definitely reach out to us. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, comment below, and let us know exactly what you like about it, what you did not like about it. If there's another video that you wish to make to learn about how jewelry works, then keep us posted because we might make a video just for you, okay? And I'll see you next time.